Hi everyone, you're watching The Business of Law, the only web TV show focusing on the challenges and opportunities facing the legal profession. I'm Lee Pacchia. Really good show lined up for you today. We have managing partner of Davis Polk, Reid in studio. We're thrilled to have him join us. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me, Lee.
Of course. So let's start off by talking financials. 2013 was a pretty good year for the firm in a difficult environment. As we approach the end of this year, 2014, how are things shaping up?
The year has been a very good year. The year is, at this point, in all likelihood, going to be better than last year by a decent margin. That's attributable to continued strength in our litigation practice, which still could not be busier. It seems like I've said that each year for the last 2 or 3 years. What has really driven the firm forward, and many other firms, is a real resurgence in M&A activity, which doesn't just drive an M&A firm like ours with deals like the Comcast Time Warner deal, Tyson Hostile deal, AbbVie Shire, and this week's Electrolux GE deal, but it also drives the ancillary corporate practices needed for an M&A deal, such as financing, whether that be in the loan markets or the capital markets. Those practices have benefited from that as well, and they were already very busy with pretty solid IPO markets the last 2 years, and very solid credit markets with money at all-time cheap rates.
So from your viewpoint, is the end of the legal recession here? I mean, it sounds like we're going to have 2 pretty good years in a row for your firm. How do you kind of contextualize those results?
The legal profession is changing, fracturing in very interesting ways right now, Lee. We are fortunate by dint of hard work and recruiting terrific people, to be at the top of our profession and known as being one of the elite firms, go-to firms for the most demanding clients, most sophisticated, complex problems. If you're not in that flight to quality bracket, life is tough. The overall demand for legal services has been down to stagnant since the financial crisis. Demand for our services has not been that, and in the last 3 years, in fact, we've recorded high single-digit to low double-digit increases in demand for our services each of those last few years. That's driven by market share gains, hard work, as I said, and also working with clients to define new markets by virtue of the total solutions we can offer them compared with a traditional approach of just offering clients products.
I'm glad you brought up the theme of fragmentation in the legal market. Looking out over the longer term, in 5 years' time, do you suppose Davis Polk will look more like Cravath, having a New York, London-based model, or something like Kirkland and S&C, firms that appear to be following the world's money centers as they develop and grow over time, or is it something else in your view?
That change has been happening for quite a while now. The change I'm talking about is just the change brought about by the shrinkage in demand for legal services globally, whether it's New York, London, Hong Kong. The change for the great American firms like Davis Polk to become more international is something that's been going on since before the financial crisis. We're already very different from Cravath and Wachtel, who really are running their entire practice out of one office here in New York City and running it very well. We're very different from them. We'd like to think that we run our practice for our clients here in New York as well as those firms. But what we also have is an international practice based in Europe, roughly 10% of our lawyers, and in Asia, roughly 10% of our lawyers, that provides us with the international exposure we need to serve our clients, both our American clients in their overseas ventures and the truly global quality companies in Europe and Asia that have interests, whether they be deals or litigation problems in the United States.
On the international side of things, where do you see the growth coming from for Davis Polk?
Both Europe and Asia. We've expanded there in the last 3 years fairly significantly, moving to take what was previously a U.S. law-only practice and add to it a really quality set of UK practitioners, where we have a complete corporate product and tax set covering capital markets, leverage finance, M&A, and taxation. And in Hong Kong, we have a unique offering for clients, which is under one roof. We're the only firm, whether it's American or Magic Circle, to be able to offer clients English law and Hong Kong law, corporate and litigation capabilities of the highest quality.
Growing in Asia can be a tricky thing in this day and age. There's a lot of regulatory barriers that prevent international firms from expanding there. What's the plan of attack, as it were, for your firm?
Well, we've got no desire in any market overseas to merely put boots on the ground and have large numbers of lawyers in Beijing or Bangalore or Sao Paulo. That is not our strategy. Our strategy, in fact, is to work with the very high quality firms in China, in Brazil, and in India, and serve their clients and our clients together. We provide something, however, that those firms don't provide, which is coming from our New York base, which is a knowledge based on the fact that we are a New York firm, we always will be a New York firm, and therefore we're fortunate enough to see most of the truly innovative developments in the provision of legal services, because most of those developments are hatched here. And so what we can bring is that technology, is that client service focused style of lawyering, and bring that in limited numbers of quality lawyers to our European and Asian offices.
Very hard to do this interview without talking about the financial industry. It's a big part of your client base at Davis Polk. Going forward, what do you see as some of the key concerns for the financial industry going forward?
I think the financial industry is maybe just a bit more than halfway through coping with the swathe of regulation and cultural change that it's had to live with since the financial crisis. Many of the regulations are now adopted in some shape or form and give the banks a pretty clear view as to how they have to change their balance sheets, more capital, less leverage, more liquidity, how they have to change their trading desks. It has to be driven for client benefit only, a la Volcker. And I think they are also adjusting to the fact that with all of those capital, et cetera, requirements, returns will be lower. Culturally, that process may take a little bit longer to endure. What is still a lasting memory, and unfortunately episodes pop up to continue this issue for the banks, is, you know, are these places where the best and the brightest want to go to work? I believe, working with some of the best banks on the street here in New York City, that those banks do offer compelling careers for students coming out of college and business school. But, you know, telling their story is something that they find challenging in the immediate aftermath of the financial crisis. But there's still a place that values innovation. There's still places that value innovation, financial innovation. And I think they're becoming better, more rewarding places to work as their size and shape becomes more clear. You know, 8 years now after the 7, 8 years after the financial crisis.
What else would you like to accomplish at the helm of Davis Polk?
I think when I move on, I'd like people to look at a firm that has more by way of services to offer clients, services that can be put together in seamless solutions, not just cross-border, but even within one office, cross-discipline. And I'd like all of the clients that use Davis Polk to be able to feel that no matter whether they call a corporate lawyer, a litigator, a tax lawyer, a lawyer in Hong Kong, a lawyer in California, a lawyer in London, that they've got the same look and feel to the Davis Polk service, office to office, practice to practice. And I think that's something we have always been able to deliver to clients through our system. We're a highly collaborative firm driven by a lockstep compensation structure, but we go beyond the compensation structure and really focus on what the client needs from the firm, not what the partner is actually focused on there and then for that client. Yeah.
Right on. Thomas, thank you so much for stopping by today.
Thank you, Lee.
That's what we have for this week. If you'd like to see more of the stuff we're working on, I suggest you go check us out online. You can see us at mimesiswebtv.com. You can always follow us on Twitter, and of course you can subscribe to us on YouTube. I'm Lee Pacchia. Thanks for watching.